Accessing peace. Existing without violence, with the ability to calmly resolve conflict. Downloading love. An overwhelming, deep, positive affection towards others. Activating liberty. Living your life as you see fit without infringing on the lives of others.
Welcome to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. Online at fppradio.com. I am your host, Darryl W. Perry, the Liberty Penguin, the Wombat, the uncut cocaine of libertarianism. And I had a busy day yesterday. I had an incredibly busy day. So it began on Saturday evening, where I had some lasagna and some garlic bread, and then wound up going to bed early because I was running a 5K Sunday morning. Sunday being yesterday, as of when I'm recording this, on the 17th day of July 2017. So Saturday night, carb loaded for the 5K Sunday. Go to bed early. Wake up shortly after 4 o'clock Sunday morning, get out of bed, record a newscast, and then wind up looking, oh, my times are off by an hour. I've got an extra hour. I thought the 5K started at 8 o'clock. 5K started at 9. Well, I'm not going back to bed, and I don't want to sit here and screw around on Facebook because I'm already in the mindset of I need to get to the place where the run is happening, and this was a fairly close run, so I only had, 15-minute drive. Yeah, screw it, I'll go ahead and go and, eat breakfast in the car on the way up there. And so I get there and just sort of relax for a little bit, and then, you know what, I've got to go pee. And so I then walked from where I parked over to the restrooms at the Surrey Mountain Lake. And what do you know? The federal government had not unlocked the bathrooms yet. But because it's a big giant park with a lot of trees, yep, you can guess what I did. And then as I'm walking back to the car, I noticed $5 bill laying on the ground, so I wound up making a nice, cool $5 by having to go pee before the bathrooms were unlocked. And you might be asking yourself, why are you blaming the federal government for not unlocking the bathrooms? Well, it's because the lake only exists as a lake because the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers built a dam, which means that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers oversees the park, which means it's a government agent that unlocks the bathrooms. Federal government agent unlocks the bathrooms. Apparently, they normally unlock them at 8 o'clock, but because there was a race, they unlocked them a little early, just not as early as I thought they did. But anyway, wound up best 5K ever, personal record on 5K, official time 25 minutes, 17 seconds. And I've got another couple of races coming up. I don't have anything until early September, I believe. I signed up for a race or two earlier today, and I honestly do not remember what I signed up for or exactly when. But I don't think I have anything. I know I don't have anything the rest of this month. I don't believe I have a race next month, or maybe one of them I signed up for is the final weekend of this month. I don't remember. I honestly don't, but I do have a calendar that I keep. So that way I wind up getting reminded of things like this. But yeah, I'm becoming a runner, and I enjoy it. I really, really enjoy it. And just one more side note about the race yesterday. I almost had to beat up like a 7-year-old. And I know it's horrible, right? It's a really horrible thing. And I've not told anybody this story. I did tell the race official that there was an unsafe runner. Unfortunately, it was after I had finished the race, and then this little kid finished the race about a minute after I told the race official. But if you run, or if you are a runner, or if you've ever been anywhere where people are running, you know, or at least you should know, that one of the standard, operating procedures, if you will, one of the things that you know is you get out of the way of other runners. Well, there was this kid that was running the 5K, and he was doing the opposite of getting out of the way of other runners. I saw him, and my first thought was, oh, he must be trying to get out of the way, but it's that weird, like two-step tango sort of thing, to where, you've had this happen before on the sidewalk, right, where you're trying to get out of somebody's way, they're trying to get out of your way, but you step in the same direction a couple of times. So that was my first thought when I saw it. And then I saw the kid look over his shoulder at the runner behind him and maneuver in the way that the runner was going. So then I realized, oh, this little kid's trying to block runners. That's not cool. That's how you get hurt. And then the little kid did it to me after I saw him do it to a couple other people. And he was laughing the entire time that he's trying to block me from running around him. And I warned him. I was like, this is how you wind up getting hurt. Somebody is going to step on you or push you down. And he's laughing about it. Fortunately, he did wind up getting out of the way so that I could run around him, but not before, blocking me, and then laughing about having blocked me, and laughing about apparently getting squashed by people that are much bigger than him. So the lesson is, when you're running, or if you're anywhere near people that are running, get out of their way, and don't laugh about it. Like, if it's an accident, apologize, I'm sorry, but don't intentionally stay in front of people that are trying to pass you as they're running, because it's annoying, and that's how you wind up getting, squashed. And there are probably people a lot less nice than I am that might have beaten up the 7-year-old. And I'm not really sure how old he is. I didn't look at the results to see, what's the age of this annoying little kid. But he was, like a tiny little kid. Definitely under 12 years old. But I digress, and we'll jump into the show topics here in just a moment on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
In 1999, Darryl W. Perry began a search for traditional values, which led him down a path to the ideas of liberty. He tells the story in A Rebel's Journey, My Path to Liberty. Of the book, Dr. Brian Sovereign says, sometimes it's funny, and sometimes I think it's crazy, but it's always authentic. Find A Rebel's Journey, My Path to Liberty by Darryl W. Perry on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, ask for A Rebel's Journey wherever books are sold, or visit arebelsjourney.com.
It is the year 91,001 BCE. Witness humanity's origins in Hyperchronius, a classic role-playing game for Windows PCs, with a story like no other game before. A liberty-oriented experience that is not to be missed. Go to ZOG.Ninja to get your copy of Hyperchronius today. Use the code FPP to get $1 off. Hyperchronius, ZOG.Ninja, code FPP.
This is Jeremy Scott, host of Dark 30. You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. So why did I tell the story about running? And why did I tell the story about, almost having to, beat up a 7-year-old? And I guess there's really a question of, is it a violation of the non-aggression principle to, prevent someone's egress, or to, block someone from going where they're trying to go in, a public sphere? And in the case of this race, it was, an event that people signed up for, and it was, held on a course. So, oh, yes, there are other runners. And again, it's common courtesy to get out of the way and let other runners pass. So is it a violation of the non-aggression principle to block a runner from trying to pass by? Arguably, I would say arguably it is. But I, again, digress. And before I actually jump into the show topic about happiness, this is all tying into happiness. Running is something that I enjoy. It is something that gives me happiness. But before I jump into the topic, I've got a question for you. Do you use Bitcoin? Do you use free market money? If so, then you need Spend-A-Bit in your arsenal. Spend-A-Bit is the search engine for things you can buy with Bitcoin. Spend-A-Bit aggregates millions of products from thousands of Bitcoin-enabled merchants. Keep your money in the free economy. Spend-A-Bit. Use my affiliate link, spendabit.fppradio.com. And if you're a Bitcoin-accepting merchant like I am, ask about their merchant suite to reach even more customers. spendabit.fppradio.com. The article comes from lifehack.org. Title: Why Pursuing Happiness Will Make You End Up Being Unhappy. You heard that right. Pursuing happiness will make you end up being unhappy. Why? Well, I'll tell you. Again, article from lifehack.org. When we talk about happiness, we think about staying happy all the time, every single day, every single minute, zero negativity. We try to pursue this constant state of happiness as our goal and to avoid anything that takes away from it. You probably know people like this, right? Well, that's kind of a flawed understanding of the word happiness. The author here, Leon Ho, says, but what is this meaning of this type of happiness? It's like your favorite food. The more you have it, it doesn't always mean the better. On the contrary, when you only have a chance to eat it sparingly, that's when you really savor every bite. So, is it the food itself that makes you happy, or is it how valuable it is when you are eating it? We should always remember that only by experiencing sadness do we understand what it is to be happy. And I could take issue with that, but I'm not going to, because that would detract a little too far away from the topic of the article. But it reminds me of something that I heard in, I believe it was the audiobook You're a Badass. I forget the author of it. Started listening to it a couple days ago. Really good book. I am definitely into it. But there's, a chapter about, this whole pursuing happiness sort of thing of I'll be happy when fill in the blank. I'll be happy if fill in the blank. I'll be happy, and there's always goals. And that's not to say that you should not have goals. But what it is saying is your happiness should not depend on whether or not you reach the goal. Okay, makes sense? Have a goal, but don't put your happiness, don't hold your happiness hostage until you meet the goal. Because, why? Well, what happens? You put your happiness hostage, you've got your happiness in a tiny little cage, and you say, happiness, I will let you out once fill in the blank happens. Fill in the blank happens. All right, happiness, you can come out now. Oh, what's that? This doesn't feel like what I thought happiness would feel like. All right, happiness, you go back in the little cage, and I'll let you out when this other thing happens. I'll let you out when, and you always keep moving the goalpost. And yes, I realize I'm mixing metaphors here, but the point remains the same. If you are only ever going to be happy once you have, reached a goal, then you're never going to be happy, because once you reach that goal, there's going to be another goal and then another goal of, okay, now what? All right, I did this, now what? I did this, now what? Now what? Now what? And then, you're just always pursuing other goals. There's a quote from The Princess Bride. I forget exactly, the exact wording of the quote, but something along the lines of, I spent, all of my life seeking revenge. I don't really know what to do with myself now. And that's kind of the thing of, well, I've spent my whole life pursuing happiness. I don't know what to do now. Well, just be happy. Stop trying to pursue happiness and just learn to be happy. And as I've said on this show numerous times, I do this show as much for me as I do for you. So a lot of things that I say, I'm talking to myself, if not as much, possibly more than I'm talking to you. Or if not more, just as much. So stop pursuing happiness, just learn to be happy. The article continues, assuming others are always happy is the biggest misunderstanding of happiness. Most people see those who have seemingly perfect lives and assume they are happy all the time. Since childhood, we're conditioned to chase the idea of happily ever after. That we see in fairy tales on social media, everyone tends to share only the best-looking aspects of their lives. So it's very easy to have a distorted view of what happiness is around us. Stay tuned. There's more here on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up in any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com. That's getcell411.com.
When you hear the word lobbyist, you probably think about greedy corporations, but not all lobbyists are the same. Some are fighting for the freedoms you hold dear. Liberty Lobby LLC is doing just that in New Hampshire, working hard to represent you, not some special interest group. You can help by going to libertylobby.info, where your contribution will give us the tools we need to ensure that your voice is heard. Visit libertylobby.info today to find out more.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
Hey, welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. We're talking about pursuing happiness. On social media, everyone tends to share only the best-looking aspect of their lives, i.e., their highlight reel. And this is something that I've talked about numerous times. Stop comparing what goes on your cutting room floor with everybody else's highlight reel. Stop comparing, whatever, horrible thing happened to you yesterday with somebody's, Instagram photos, somebody's Pinterest post, somebody's Facebook post, somebody's post on Twitter, somebody's, well thought out, well choreographed Vine video, whatever. Stop comparing the horrible aspects of your day and your life to everybody else's highlight reel. Instead, and I would say, stop comparing yourself to others, period. But I know that's not easy to do. So instead, try to compare your highlight reel to other people's highlight reels, or try to figure out. And I'm not going to say, try to figure out what's on their cutting room floor and compare your highlight reel to that, because that's where you wind up getting, the pompous, arrogant, a-hole persona thing. And again, going back to the audiobook that I mentioned earlier, You're a Badass, there's a chapter about the ego. And ego is not really what most people think ego is. There are a lot of ways that people can, inflate their ego or go on an ego trip. Where, yeah, the most thought of ego trip is the person, I'm great and wonderful. Look how great and wonderful I am. See, I'm great and wonderful. Look at this thing I did. Look at this other thing I did. Look at how much money I have. Look at how much stuff I have. Look at how many, beautiful women I'm dating. That's what most people think of as an ego trip. But ego trip could also be asking other people, hey, tell me all the favorite things about me. Tell me all of your favorite things about me. Because I need you to inflate my ego because I can't inflate it myself. There are a lot of ways people wind up going on ego trips. And I'll leave it at that and continue with the article. In reality, or let me back up a sentence, or actually two sentences. Again, on social media, everyone tends to share only the best aspects of their lives, so it's easy to have a distorted view of what happiness is. In reality, there's always something missing, something lacking, something unpleasant. No one has a perfect life. Even the most glamorous celebrities or the richest billionaires. Everyone has their own set of challenges and problems. When we feel negative, we're only focusing on a small fluctuating curve. The author of this article says, as the CEO of Lifehack, I've had to deal with countless problems, and some of them felt like real setbacks at the time. During those moments, it really seemed like these problems would be the life or death of my company and my life goals. But I got through them. And weeks, months, and eventually years passed with many more ups and downs. You need to keep your sights on the extended curve. Looking back now, a lot of these really big problems at the time seem like only small blips in a long line of experiences. Recalling them in mind now makes me smile. And this whole, zoom in, zoom out sort of thing, that's what I'm going to refer to it as instead of the extended curve. It's one of those things. If you look at a chart of, a bunch of circles or dots or, marks all clustered in together, looks, oh, wow, those are all really, really close. But if you zoom in really close on one dot, then the other dots could look really far away. So it just all depends on, are you looking at the extreme close-up, or are you looking at, that zoomed out, there's millions of stars in the night sky sort of thing. And that's another way to look at it. You look at the sun, you're like, oh, wow, that's one really big, huge thing. You look at the night sky, and you see a bunch of tiny, tiny, tiny little dots. When in actuality, most of those dots are the size of the sun, some of them a lot bigger, but they look so close together in that night sky, when in actuality they are spread out drastically. Again, it's that zoom in, zoom out, extreme close-up. That's a Wayne's World reference for those of you that are not old enough to catch it. The article here continues. Stop trying to be happy, just be. It's natural to want to be happy as often as possible, so what can we do? First, throw away the belief that a perfect life means happiness. The author says, personally, I would be miserable if everything was perfect. It's from experiencing the pains of lifelong challenges that drives us to care for others when they are experiencing the same trials. If life was perfect, you would not be able to empathize. If life was perfect, you would not grow. I'll repeat that. If life was perfect, you would not be able to empathize. If life was perfect, you would not be able to grow. And we've talked a lot about empathy on this show before. Stay tuned. There's more here on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at weusecoins.com. That's weusecoins.com. Why do they hate us? Is libertarianism compatible with Islam? Davi Barker answers these questions and more in Voluntary Islam and Other Essays. He advances the voluntarist cause with analysis of the confluence of values between Islam and libertarianism, as well as contemporary movements from the Tea Party to the Arab Spring. Voluntary Islam by Davi Barker is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
To truly be happy, stop chasing permanent happiness. It sounds like a paradox. The author says what I mean is, except that there will be ups and downs throughout life. There will be hills and there will be valleys. When you're going up the hill, it seems like, oh, this hill is never going to end. Where's the top of the hill? I can't see the top of the hill. This thing's huge. And then you get to the top of the hill, and you're like, oh, wow, view's really nice up here. Wish I could stay. Oh, and now I'm going down the hill. And then you go down. When's the bottom of the hill going to come? And then you get to the bottom of the hill. Oh, I've never been so low in my life. How do I wind up going up that next hill? And then you zoom out, and it's just, like tiny little things. It's not Mount Everest. It's just, like tiny little hills. Ups and downs. But look at things, again, in that grand scale. Don't zoom in so close that you can see, the hair on the toad's butt. Zoom out to where you can see the toad. Again, the article continues. Gracefully understand that happiness is a fluctuation of positive and negative. Understand the importance of gratitude instead of focusing on the unpleasant moment right now. Flash back your memory to when you had, or even when you did not have, something. I like to think about my career, for example. When I didn't have a career I was passionate about, I felt lost and demotivated. Felt like everyone was figuring out their lives but me. But when I found my purpose and started Lifehack, I was deeply happy even before I realized I would be successful. This memory keeps me going when there are tough spots. It takes the darkness to make us grateful for the light. There's more to this article that I will not have time to finish. So, instead of trying to rush through these last two paragraphs, I will just remind you that every Friday, I answer your questions. And yes, I will answer any question. There was an episode a while back, a couple of years ago now probably, where I looked in depth at this claim that there was a court ruling to determine whether or not a burrito was a sandwich. Yes, you heard me correctly. There was a court ruling over whether or not a burrito was a sandwich. I did that show because somebody asked the question for the Ask Me Anything. You can send those questions over using the web form, and you can do it anonymously. ama.fppradio.com. That's ama.fppradio.com.
The podcasts of FPP Radio are licensed under Copy Heart. We believe that copying is a form of flattery and do not abide by the copyright laws. Those laws serve to restrict the flow of ideas which no one can really own. Copying is an act of love. Love is not subject to law. If you enjoy the show, consider joining the Fans program and get perks like ad-free versions of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio and FPP Radio News, and also get a copy of the monthly newspaper FPP News. To learn more or to join the Fans Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com.